The offer letter arrives on a Tuesday in October. $112,000 base salary, plus a signing bonus, plus the name at the top of the page. McKinsey Company. You read it 3 times. You accept within 24 hours. You have been preparing for this moment since sophomore year case frameworks, behavioral practice, mock case interviews with people who knew the process. McKinsey receives roughly 800,000 applications annually and extends offers to fewer than 1% of them. You are one of them now. Your business analyst class is 47 people. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, MIT, Wharton, a few state schools if they finished at the top. Everyone passed the case interviews. Everyone made it through 6 rounds of selection. Everyone sitting in that first day conference room believes the process identified something real and specific about who they are. It identified something real, just not what any of you think it did. You won't understand the difference for at least 2 years. The training program lasts 3 weeks. You learn something called the structured problem-solving approach, which means every business question gets broken into a hypothesis, then an issue tree, then data until the hypothesis holds or collapses. You learn ME's mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive a framework for organizing information so nothing overlaps and nothing is missing. You learn the 2x2 matrix, which makes recommendations look inevitable. These are the tools McKinsey charges Fortune 500 clients upward of $500,000 per engagement to apply. What you actually do is build slides. Nobody says this during recruiting. They talk about working at the intersection of strategy and execution, about the quality of thinking the firm brings to problems that matter. On your first live engagement, you build a 40-tab Excel model based on assumptions your engagement manager formed during a 20-minute call with the client's CFO. The model takes 4 days. It is due in 2. The revision cycle runs like this. The associate partner reviews it and decides the overall narrative arc is wrong. You rebuild the narrative. The partner looks at it the morning before the client meeting and wants the opening slide to lead with a different number. You change the opening slide. This happens at 11 p.m. The client presentation is at 8 a.m. Your base salary is $112,000. Your hours run 70 to 80 per week on what the firm considers a normal engagement. Divide one by the other. The number you get is the same number the security guard in the lobby makes. You don't do that calculation yet. When you do, you will not mention it to anyone. By month 3, you keep a charger in your bag, a suit on the back of a hotel door, and a running knowledge of which airports have lounges that open before 5:30 a.m. The schedule runs Sunday evening out, Thursday night back, sometimes Friday if the engagement extends, which engagements do. The city where you pay rent becomes the city where you store your belongings. You are in it 8 days a month, sometimes fewer. You learn which hotel breakfast starts early enough to matter. You keep a toiletry bag packed at all times because repacking it takes 10 minutes you don't have between Sunday's flight and Monday's 7 a.m. team call. Sleep is a resource you manage, not a thing that happens. You learn to sleep in the first 40 minutes of a morning flight before your body has registered what day it is. You learn to function on less of it than you believed was possible, and then less than that. Your college friends stop expecting you to show by month 4. You cancel twice, then a 3rd time. After that, they stop asking with any real anticipation. You don't blame them. You stop explaining the schedule because the explanation is always the same, and it has started sounding less like a reason and more like a choice you keep making. The team becomes your social world by default, not by design, by proximity. You share airport bars in cities neither of you would have visited on your own hotel lobbies at 6 a.m., and a Tuesday dinner with people who understand the schedule without requiring it explained. This is not nothing. It is also not the life the offer letter implied. The business analyst class thins. One person leaves for a startup. Another takes a corporate strategy role and is gone from the group chat within a week. The ones who stay are not necessarily the strongest performers. They are the most habituated to the conditions. Business school feels like parole. You get into a top 10 program. Not your first choice, but it says yes. And that is enough. The first Saturday you have nowhere to be, you sit in your apartment for an hour before you understand that this is what free time is. You have evenings. You have weekends. You remember what it feels like to make plans and keep them. Your classmates talk about work-life balance as though it is a standard feature of professional life that simply requires protecting. Some of them came from banking or consulting and nod at everything you say. Others came from places where the office closed at 6 and look at your 2 years, the way you might look at a voluntary prison sentence. That reading is not entirely wrong, But here is what you do not expect. Even if that someone was a CEO optimizing a cost structure in a business neither of you would ever think about again. Regular life feels slow, inconsequential, like a game someone removed the stakes from without telling you. The 2 years pass. You go back to McKinsey as a first-year associate. Base salary $225,000. Your business school debt is payable in under 2 years if you're careful. And a warning at the same time. You are now running work streams, not just tasks. You are on client calls explaining the analysis rather than building it at midnight. You are the one deciding which assumptions go into the model, which means you are the one who gets questioned when the assumptions are wrong. The hours do not change. You are simply paid more for them now. The engagement manager promotion arrives in your 3rd year back. The EM role is the operational center of every engagement, not adjacent to it inside it. The partner sells the work and manages the relationship at the top. You run the project. If the timeline slips, it is on you. If the deck goes to the client with a structural error, it is on you. If the BA on your team is making mistakes because she has been working 85-hour weeks for 6 weeks, that is also on you, while you are working 85-hour weeks yourself. Client relationships become yours to manage directly for the first time. You learn quickly what nobody states during training. Clients do not always want the right answer. They want an answer that confirms the direction they have already chosen, wrapped in analysis credible enough to present to a board. The best EMs learn to give them the truth in a frame that feels like validation. The ones who deliver the truth plainly, without that packaging, do not always get the follow-on engagement. Not everyone makes engagement manager. Some associates are counseled out McKinsey's phrase for a managed departure, delivered with care, with transition support, with language about fit and timing that keeps the door held open on the way through. The result is the same. Of the 30 associates in your cohort, roughly 15 reach this level. You are watching the shape of the thing from inside it now. The math is not complicated. It never was. You just couldn't see it clearly from where you were standing before. The pyramid isn't a metaphor. It's the org chart. There is a moment nobody talks about. It happens around year 7. You are in a hotel room in a mid-sized city at 1:15 a.m. in the morning, going through a deck for the 3rd time this week. The client will spend roughly 6 minutes on it before the partner raises something off script and the meeting moves on. You have watched this happen on every engagement for 7 years. You are going through the deck anyway. You look at the room, laptop open on the desk. Room service tray pushed to the corner. Suit on the back of the door for the 8 a.m. The minibar you haven't touched. And something becomes clear but has been present for a long time without being visible. This is not the initiation period. The hotel rooms, the Sunday flights, the midnight revision cycles, this is not the cost of admission to something else. This is the thing itself. There is no other side of it. The exits that looked available at year 2 look different from year 7. The firms that hire from consulting want people at earlier stages at lower compensation expectations. Corporate strategy means a pay cut and a learning curve in a political environment you don't understand yet. The doors exist. They are just smaller than you remembered. You have been in the firm long enough that your entire professional identity runs through it. Your network is here. Your reference points are here. The version of yourself that walked in on day 1 is someone you can remember but no longer locate. Some people have this realization and leave the next morning. Others have it and decide it changes nothing. You are in the second group. You tell yourself you are close to associate partner. AP leads to partner. The years are an investment. They always have been. You believe this completely because the alternative requires admitting something you are not ready to admit. The associate partner title arrives after 3 years as an EM. Your compensation lands between $350,000 and $500,000 depending on the year. The title sounds like a rival. It isn't. What AP means is that you are on the final filter. The timeline to partner is 2 to 4 years, not a guideline the operating structure. If you cannot demonstrate a credible path to partner in that window, the firm will have a careful conversation with you, and that conversation ends with a transition plan. After a decade inside the pyramid, the last cut is the steepest. The skills that carried you here are no longer sufficient for what comes next. You spent 10 years becoming an exceptional operator and executor. What partner requires is the ability to walk into a boardroom you have never entered and make someone trust you enough to hand you a problem worth several $1 million in fees. That is a sales capability. It is not taught in any program. You develop it here under real conditions, or you don't. You attend industry conferences. You cultivate relationships that may produce nothing for 2 years and then suddenly produce an engagement. You learn which partners are expanding their practice and willing to share access, and which ones treat their client relationships as private territory that you approach at your own risk. Navigation is the skill at this level. Effort is assumed. A relationship ends. Not in any confrontation, just a gradual withdrawal that you weren't present enough to stop. The other person stopped believing the schedule would change. They were right. The relationship ends. A client calls that night. You answer. Roughly 1 in 3 associate partners makes partner. You have watched 2 full cohorts move through this filter. You know what the number looks like. Everyone at your level knows it. The ones who made it weren't consistently the strongest consultants. They were the most visible to the right people at the right time. The partner announcement comes on a Tuesday. Your name goes on the website within the week. The first feeling is relief, which is not the same as happiness, and you notice that difference immediately and do not mention it to anyone. Then the reality of the role settles in. You are now responsible for revenue, not supporting it, not modeling it, generating it. Your value to the firm from this point is the clients you bring in and retain, level dinners, and cultivate relationships that may or may not produce an engagement 18 months from now. Your compensation starts around $1 million and moves with performance. The number is large. What it represents is 12 years of total availability, of an identity that merged so completely with the firm that separating them became a theoretical exercise you stopped attempting somewhere around year 8. McKinsey has roughly 2,000 partners globally. The firm employs approximately 45,000 people. That is the math. Let it sit. The people who didn't make it are gone. Some are at portfolio companies. Some started their own advisory practices. Some took operating roles at former clients and earn a fraction of what they would have made here. You don't think about them often. Sometimes you do briefly in airport lounges. The stress doesn't decrease. It changes form entirely. A bad year is no longer a performance review conversation, it is an existential one. Losing a key client has implications that extend to the team beneath you. You have watched partners leave, not dramatically. Quietly, after a difficult meeting, with a transition plan and a send-off that everyone attends and nobody fully enjoys. You keep your numbers strong. You stay visible. It is the same game it always was, just with larger consequences and fewer people left to watch you play it. The new Business Analyst class assembles on a Monday morning in a conference room with a view of Midtown. 47 people, every school you would expect. Everyone sharp, everyone selected. Everyone sitting the way you sat 20 years ago with the posture of someone who has just been told they are exceptional. You will give them the speech about the quality of McKinsey's work, about the problems they will touch and the scale at which they will touch them. You have heard this speech given 3 times over your career, and you believed it each time, in sequence, and that belief was not entirely wrong. You won't tell them what the career actually costs. Not to the relationships that ended for structural reasons no one could argue with. Not to the version of themselves standing in this room right now. Not to the question of what they actually wanted before this firm's logic became indistinguishable from their own. You won't tell them because it wouldn't change anything. You didn't listen either. Some of them will reach associate. Fewer will make engagement manager. A handful will get to associate partner. 1 or 2 across the next 15 to 20 years will make partner. The math is visible from where you're standing in a way it cannot be from their seats. It would not help them to see it yet. Somewhere, a college senior is running case practice with a friend in a library, updating their resume, preparing for the first round of interviews, convinced they will approach this differently than the people who came before them. They won't. Nobody does. That's what makes the system work.